Another one that's not in the book that I wanted to pop in is using a chair. It's a really nice way of settling yourself. So you take a step forwards, and in fact my chair should be a little bit closer. So if you have your chair around the area of your toes, so you can bring yourself forwards and you can let your hands rest onto the chair. So it could be up on fingertips, it could be on the heels of your hands. Again, you're going to sink back and into the back heel, slide the hips back and away from you, shoulders come away. And this way, because we've got the upper body supported, we can really focus on what needs to happen in the legs to start to let the body really find its way. And then as you get more confident, we can get a little bit lighter, and then we could move off this way. Or you might just find that this is a really good way to work, to really connect with the links between your feet, the hips, and then this forward bending. And then you'd walk yourself in towards your chair to bring yourself back up. Last little one that we're going to do is a kind of arching forwards and back. So from your step forwards, you could do it on the chair, which is a nice place to start. We're going to be arching the back up like we're doing cat pose, and then lengthening out. And you're going to start to allow that flow of movement to come up through the spine. So from the pelvis, up through the back of the waist, the back of the rib cage, to the neck, the head. And then obviously this could be done with your hands on the back of your body or on your thighs as well. So from a comfortable position for you, in fact I'm going to move this a little bit, because another option, again depending on your body and whether this feels good for you, is from your forward bending position, so you're leaning forwards, that you actually bring your head down towards the floor and then arch back up. So that we're dipping down and up. So it needs a feeling of awareness through the legs and through the hips so that this remains a supportive and good place for you to be. Remembering whenever you're bringing your shoulders up, really press into the feet so that we activate the legs to bring ourselves back up to standing, and we get that feeling of lift and life coming through the body. Settle yourself into your practice. Choose whether you're going to come into all fours like last week to start with. Maybe you'll come and try a variety of different things with Parsvottanasana. See if you can find a feeling of life in your spine. The ability to sink down and into the hips, and then to open and widen across the shoulders. Coming back to your breath, so that your breath sinks down, and the movement of the body becomes more fluid as we breathe. Seeing if you can allow the body to breathe evenly and easily, naturally. Thinking of a feeling of length in the spine and an ability to release the shoulders. So even when the shoulders are moving in different ways, that we can find a sense of freedom within the shoulder joint. That we can find a way to allow the body to move freely. It might be that you're sitting with legs wide and taking the arms out and over to one side. It might be that you've decided just to sit quietly. It might be that you're lying on your back. Whatever you're doing, look for that feeling of aliveness through the body. So a feeling of aliveness in the legs, in the feet, in the torso, in the arms, in the hands. Look for that sense of gentle alertness throughout the body. So the body becomes more alive. You can also think of it that as the body becomes more alive, that the mind becomes quieter. So the mind remains active, it remains alert, it remains interested and curious. But the everyday thoughts start to still a little bit. Noticing the sides of your waist. Notice the sensations in the sides of the waist, and if there's any way for you to get a feeling of more movement, more openness. Think about the feet, the aliveness in the feet. So many little bones and joints within the feet. So many refined ways to move within the feet. Thinking about that gentle lift into the arches of the feet, the spreading and widening across the balls of the feet. Then like that spine that comes down through the outsides of the feet. And really notice what part of your feet are touching the floor right now. What part of your feet are touching the floor, and what's the contact like between your feet and the floor? If you take your hands onto the floor, then think of the same thing for your hands. How do they meet the floor? Can there be a steadiness? Can there be a gentleness at the same time? Our concept for this week is the concept of ahimsa. Ahimsa is a Sanskrit, and it's one of the yogic philosophies or main philosophies, the limbs of yoga that are like the kind of yoga rules of living. And ahimsa means non-violence. Non-violence or non-harming. So that is not doing things that do harm. Whether that's not doing things that harm other people, other lives or life forces. But it also in yoga very much applies to ourselves. How can we practice non-violence to ourselves? How can we not harm ourselves? It's so important because when we're doing yoga, often we'll be looking at finding edges, finding boundaries, finding aliveness. And obviously sometimes that finding aliveness is going to take us into a space where we become more open and we might go beyond our natural limits because that's the way that we grow. And yet at the same time we have to come back to that feeling of real kindness. So if you do Parsvottanasana, our pose of the week, and you come into it too hard, too fast, like any other pose, but you come into it with not enough awareness of your whole body, you might be thinking, oh, this is great, I can stretch my leg more here. But in the process of stretching your leg, later on you have a grumble in the back of your pelvis, or by practicing too hard at something or with too much focus, the mind becomes sharp and angular and unable to move freely and almost with a sense of looseness to it. I'm not saying that we want to get loose everywhere, but there is a quality, and it's that balance between how much do we want to develop and focus and grow, and how much do we need to settle back, settle into ourselves. And the concept of ahimsa is so important. So when you practice, try and think of the deep motivation beneath what you're doing. So why are you practicing in this particular moment? What is it that you are hoping is going to happen? So sometimes we'll be practicing from the body. So we'll be saying, oh my goodness, I can just feel this amazing sensation in the back of my waist. I'm just so interested in this sensation, this movement, and how that feels in my body, and how that then affects my mind. Sometimes we'll be thinking that way. Sometimes you'll be thinking, well, if I do this enough times, then my legs will get stronger and my posture will be better and I will feel better. When we're working at a more mundane level, so the body sculpting or body changing, it's much easier to hurt yourself because there is a goal and it's a fixed goal rather than an exploration. So I would tempt you to coming into that sense of curiosity. It's a really good way of making sure there isn't that pushing, pulling, and then damaging. And the way that the mind works is also really important. But if we can come back to that feeling of curiosity, then whatever yoga you're doing, whatever it looks like on the outside, you know it's good because you feel good. I hope you've enjoyed your yoga practice today. I hope that you found something all by yourself for yourself. Yoga teaches us to cure what need not be endured, and to endure what cannot be cured. Yoga teaches us to cure what need not be endured, and to endure what cannot be cured.